in addition to showing you guys good deals, we like to review, bad deals as well, where we don't know what the investor was thinking, because it's a good way to show you how to avoid risk. In fact, we did one that we put a video out on YouTube just recently, and we also talked with our students before we did that about a beach house in Michigan that essentially the investor lost anywhere between $600,000 to $800,000 on it by overbuying and overpaying.
Yeah, I mean, lots of mistakes you can make. We've talked a lot about the pricing on it and how our bidding percentages are so important. And you can tell that all that went right out the window. This person didn't have any kind of a plan about what they were wanting to pay. They were just going to win the property, and unfortunately for them, they were bidding against somebody else that must have had the same idea, and that's how you get a property that can bid all the way up there to pretty much market value. And even then, the only reason they don't pay more is just because, they at least have the sense to know that it's not worth more than market, but up until that, though, again, no real idea here, about what they're doing. And so, yeah, this person pretty well, they paid close to $1 million. I mean, they paid, nearly $800,000 cash just for the property. Then they have all these fees, that probably amount to, close to $100,000 in fees, and the property is probably valued at about $900,000. And so the real issue here is that they've put nearly $1 million into a property that they can't even see the inside of. I mean, they could very well they could go inside. This property was built in 1937. Maybe it hasn't been remodeled since 1964. They wouldn't know that yet, just because they can't see inside it. They're having to assume a lot. They have to assume everything about this property and the inside of it because we know nothing about it. And that is a pretty risky step when you pay that much, for a property, that could be in need of several $100,000 worth of work. You never really know, until you get into it. So yeah, my guess is on this property that, they're going to lose money on any of the work that they have to do on the inside of it. Just because I don't know that it's going to be worth much more than $900,000 when they're done. So if they have to sink $100,000 into it, that's just going to be another $100,000 they lose.
Yeah, exactly. And in this type of neighborhood, this is a neighborhood that has close to $1 million homes on it. And so if we're talking about rehabbing the property, you can't just go in there and do what we call lipstick rehab. You're not going to be able to sell the property. All of the properties that are selling for probably, $800,000 to $1 million on this street are upgraded. Have nice furnishing, nice woodwork, because that's what that properties within this area are going to require to be able to sell it for market value within that area. And so automatically in buying this property, and if they try to resell it, maybe they can only sell it for 750 or 700,000, which is automatically going to make them lose 250,000. Let's say they put an additional 100 grand into rehabbing the property. It's got some size to it. We can see it's 4 bedroom, 3 bath, 2,300 square feet. So it's a larger property. That means it's going to cost a lot more to rehab a property of that size. And so they could easily put an additional $200,000 into the property where they've already paid more than the property is valued at. So yet we don't think there's a real way that the investor that purchased this home, even though it may be in a good area, can make money on the property because they overpaid for it at the auction, and they still have all of those rehab costs that are going to be on top of it.
Yeah, I mean, if we were to go and look at, at what's selling in this area, to compare this to, I guarantee that most of the properties we're going to find in this price range are going to look amazing. They're going to look awesome because people aren't going to spend $1 million, on a property unless it looks amazing, unless it has been, I mean, most of these are going to be fresh remodels, that have just been done, and so the properties are going to look excellent. And that's what you're going to have to compete with, as a buyer, because if this is an investment here, the whole idea with this is that you would buy it, be able to turn around and flip it, after you've gone through and done certain renovations or fix-ups on it. And yeah, you could easily lose money on all of that. But even then, I don't know if it's going to be worth any more than the 900,000. Even if you did special things to it and you could increase the value, you're probably not going to increase it any more than what you're putting into it. in order to do it. So yeah, that's the real challenge here, is they haven't really left themselves any kind of a profitability, no cushion here for profitability, where they're pretty much selling the property for what they paid right now, and that's if they don't put any money into it. If they do put money into it, then they're going to start losing. But yeah, definitely not the direction of things you want to go.